Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult video 170, Occult Pride. That is pride in the practice of magic, paganism, spiritual element of my life. I do have it, and I figured it was about time to make a video, expressing that. Some people, I think, assume when they talk to me about like Muhammad or Jesus or, Brahma or something, I think they assume that there's something missing in my life and I feel like sad or downtrodden or like confused. I'm still like questioning everything. It's like, no, what you call being confused is what I call wanting to educate and explore and research things because it's interesting. It can be enlightening, number two. And number three, it's literally, it's part of my job description. So I think some people assume that because I study multiple paths and I say, well, I'm kind of non-committal on theism and who cares? Spirituality is great, I believe in it, but religion, I sort of sweep it aside and don't really put any importance into it. Some people appear to think that means I'm like sad or something within my spiritual life. Like, yeah, I'm upset because I don't claim a gnosis of a deity, and so, well, he can't be sure where he goes when he dies. Well, I look at that as another adventure. Death is another road we all must take. Famous line there. I happen to believe in that. I happen to agree with that sentiment. I don't really care. Let's say I die and there's nothing. Well, I'm not in any pain. Yeah, I guess it's not going to be very exciting, but I'm not going to be there to know I'm bored. So, yeah, it's sort of like, the billions of years before I was born, assuming reincarnation doesn't exist, and you just sort of get mind wiped over and over in order to experience new lives or slowly ascend to nirvana or something. Nirvana, who fucking cares? I'm a Vermonter. I pronounce things wrong sometimes. Who cares? Unless one of those things is true, it's possible. Yeah, maybe you just disappear when you die, but you weren't there before you were born. If your mind is just a computer that shuts off, when the computer's off, it's not having dreams. It's not aware of its own existence. It just slowly degrades and disintegrates into dust over the span of some degree of time. If reincarnation is true, well, that's great, I get to reincarnate. Maybe I'll even be able to watch my own videos. Like I die. YouTube is still hopefully there, and then I reincarnate, and then I'm like, using YouTube again. I'm like, wow, this sticks hex in here. Pretty fun stuff. That would be very funny. It would be like Inception a little bit at that point. The concept of uncontrollable, endless reincarnation a la Hinduism, in which people simply, there is a progression over time towards a sort of final end of every very long cycle, and things renew continuously. There's no escape from it. I happen to agree with that concept more and like that concept more than maybe the Buddhist side. The Buddhist side is more, it's a bad thing. In Hinduism, the reincarnation, it's not negative. In fact, it can be very good. You can, in some traditions, I think in Tibetan Buddhism, it's a little bit different. You can sort of go to the realm of the gods, and I'm not sure whether that's permanent or not. And then there's like a realm, bad realms that you can get sucked into. But if you manage to go through your sort of death ritual thing and ignore the seductresses and the monsters and shit that you'll see, the sort of the temptations and torments of hell, basically, and manage to work your way through it, you can sort of choose your own state of birth. Now, you'll get to literally, you'll see a bunch of couples, I guess, having sex, and you'll get to choose your parents. It sounds really weird to me. That's an interesting idea. There are all sorts of things that could happen. But no, I'm proud of my occultism. I'm not sad or confused or lost and lonely. I enjoy sort of the adventure. I've always thought, think of it in a literary context, another thing that I do for a living. When you read a book, when you get to the end, it's like, the adventure's over. It's sort of sad almost. It's bittersweet sort of thing. You're like, wow, it was a good book. Now I'm going to have to read it again. But, basically, it's like you have a really good series. Sometimes you can get kind of upset when that series ends. This has happened. Like when I think of The Elfin Ship. There are 3 books within the total series that Blaylock wrote. He's probably never going to write any more. That means that's the scope of that adventure. And it's sad once you've read them all and you're like, well, that's the end of that. There's no more to read. I would have to make up fanfic or something. There's a reason fanfic is so popular. People don't want the adventure to end. They don't want to be limited and boxed in. They want to think of other possibilities in other realms. What better way to spend eternity, by the way, than to reincarnate over and over again and get to experience all the good, bad, and ugly of life in a million different forms? It sounds pretty great, actually, to me. And if there's like a heaven and hell, who cares? Okay, I'm in hell. So sign me up for sauna duty. I'll clean the liquefied sinner fat out of the filters, and then demons will come behind me, knock me in face first, and then, sodomize me with a pitchfork. And so, okay. It could be worse, who cares? As far as occultism goes, though, I have a gnosis that spiritual things are real. I don't claim to know everything about them. I don't claim to know every bit of knowledge about them, but I do claim that there is a spiritual side to existence that goes beyond the currently explainable. Now, some of that is just science as yet undescribed. Science can't quite yet explain some phenomena, so it roughly fits in with the occult. Now, the occult is not just superstition like Harry Potter wand waving. The occult goes further into the realms of philosophy, into medicine, literally every human endeavor, wherever it can be spiritual or mysterious or willfully hidden. That's the occult. The occult deals with synchronicity, it deals with psychology, with propaganda, with governance, with ethics and morality, every possible part of life. Insofar as it does, if you're studying it, you're studying every field of human endeavor. There's basically no subfield you can think of human endeavor that doesn't have spiritual writings or opinions regarding it. Robotics. Robotics ties right in with ethics, the most pure form of technology you can think of, but it's a little bit like Frankenstein morality when you think of it. And the occult has something to say. Cloning, space travel, aliens, exopolitics, all of these things are tied together into the spiritual realm. There's really nothing that isn't. Like I've said, I've considered writing a book on sports occultism, like both a combination, both of the superstition surrounding sports, like, oh, I don't wash my socks till the team loses, or, hey, you know, in order to get my team to win the Super Bowl, I have to do a certain ritual every day. I have to touch every corner of the room 10 times or something, in the playoffs. And people that do that, but also can it inform the future because of the sort of archetypes of these teams, sort of the politics and the spiritual figure behind them. I've thought about these things. You can tie into the occult, fortune telling, literally everything does. I think that's something to be proud of, to study literally every field of human endeavor. It goes beyond plants and old tomes of Latin from 500 years ago. I think that's a commendable thing. Some people disagree. Some people are like, well, if you dabble in witchcraft, magic, it's a bad thing. It'll rot your soul out from within. If my soul is rotten, if I've become so corrupted I haven't noticed it, no, I still stand for liberty. People should be left alone. Part of that is the ability to study whatever spiritual background they want. You know, a free thinker is Satan's slave. Okay, if that's so, well, sign me up again for Satan. I think it sounds preferable to the alternative. However, there are plenty of religions, totally mainstream, that don't have a problem with the concept of a bit of sorcery or fortune-telling now again. And indeed, early Christians, you read their writings, I've told Fuentes this, and I look at all sorts of Christian writings, they tie in with astrology and card reading and fortunes and stuff like that above all else, including a little bit of white magic, sort of summon the demon in order to blast it with an incantation and bind it from doing harm to thy family sort of material. Look at the Enchiridion or something. Christians are writing this sort of stuff. It's not they were evil because they were dabbling in high ritual magic. No, they considered it commendable. That's about all. Peace out.